Hello and welcome to this live broadcast on a very special day, the arrival of the world's first container vessel sailing on green methanol. My name is Samantha Almana-Delaware and I am joined in studio by Leo, our Head of Fleet Management and Technology, Captain Brian and Chief Engineer Heino. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
So for those of you who may be wondering who is then sailing on our vessel right now, because we have the captain and the chief engineer here, do not worry. We had a crew change in Rotterdam 2 weeks ago. So we are very fortunate to have crew members with us to answer the questions that you're about to submit and also provide those insights from the maiden voyage. But what I'd like to also say, it's very exciting because we have a ticket giveaway, and that is a tour of our vessel. I have one pair, so please read the terms and conditions below. But if you'd like to win those tickets, please just tell us in the comments why you should. So I think now we can actually go to some live footage of our vessel en route as she's getting closer and closer. Or coming soon, because this footage is actually when it was earlier in the day. But we should be able to see some of that shortly. So yes, the journey has started, and we can see that she is making her destination to headquarters here in Copenhagen and should be with us shortly, but we'll be able to get some live footage for you very soon. But of course, here we go, without further ado. So this is where she's going to be doing her berthing and be arriving soon. But Captain Brian, I think we should start with you.
Yeah.
How has the maiden voyage been, and what are some of your highlights? Because we know, of course, that the vessel left Korea on the 15th of July and then sort of left our partner's yard, which was Hyundai Mipo Dockyard, and then came here. What was that like?
That was very, very interesting. It is always interesting to take over a new vessel.
Yeah.
And especially the first days after you take over, you have to, even though you have been on the yard and kind of know the vessel, it's only when you own the vessel or you are allowed to push all the buttons that you actually really start to get familiar with the vessel. So you were very busy the first days and taking in a lot of things and finding out this is not working, this is working. And
yes.
So,
and this is, of course, we can see a lovely map here of the route that it's taken to get here.
Yep. Yeah, so the first port was Shanghai, and we had a lot of preparations to do on these first days after the first bunkering of methanol, which was also a big thing for us.
Yes.
Been training for that for a long time for this because of the safety issues with handling methanol, low flashpoint fuel, and with the flames that are invisible in daylight. So yeah, a lot of training have gone into getting there.
Absolutely. Well, I'll take one of the questions that have come in. That's from Sebastian on LinkedIn, and that's maybe a question that you can answer here, Leo. What route is she actually going to operate in now that she's in service, and where will she do her bunkering?
Right. So after this week of celebration, towards the beginning of October, the vessel will be deployed in North Europe, in the Baltic area, and she will do a rotation around Bremerhaven, and eventually then heading towards Denmark, utilizing also the Kiel Canal. Bunkering operations should happen approximately every 5 weeks in Rotterdam.
Excellent. And Annabelle from Instagram submitted a question, and she wants to know, how has the crew been on this first tour? Because, of course, you guys are pioneers on this kind of vessel. We'll let you start. Maybe, Heino, you can give us some inside scoop, which may be different from what the captain says.
Yeah, the crew have all volunteered and been selected for this specific voyage, and so everybody was very engaged and very into the job and taking responsibility. So it's been a great team effort to get everything up and running, and we have had a good time as well.
It's really been pleasure working with them. Really a good team all the way through. Everyone pitching in wherever is needed. Doesn't matter if it's your area or not. You just pitch in and help. And it's been like that since day one.
Yeah.
So
and
really,
you crew each time as well. So how have you found the bonding, and is there sort of like that spirit because it is the first of its kind vessel?
Yeah, I think everybody was really motivated and engaged to do whatever they could to get this working the best way. So this also helped in getting one team.
Yeah, we also had time in Korea before we took over the vessel, but we had time to go out doing some karaoke.
Give us a few lines now.
It's not my comfort zone though, but
definitely.
Yes. to like make the team bonding was a lot of this stuff we did, playing some dart, and also on the voyage we've been doing some tournaments in just to have something else on our minds than work all the time, because it's been long hours.
Absolutely. Right, soon we should have some additional footage coming in. But I think it's a question that you also kind of answered. Oh, here we go. Here's the drone. Wow. Here she comes. What a beauty. So what will the crew be feeling right now as sort of they're getting closer and closer to berthing here at Tobodden?
Yeah, they are ready.
They're ready.
Excited, I guess.
That's for sure. 2 tugs.
Oh, the 2 tugs sort of bring them in. So when do the tugs actually join to make sure that it's a safe sort of berthing?
You mean how far out?
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely in due time. Like here, they are following the vessel already before the breakwater. They may wait a little bit to make it fast, but at least they are following already now the vessel and
So
ready
we're
to
on
make
track
fast.
and on time.
And there is pilot on board, who is the guy in contact with the tugs. So together with the captain, they decide when to make them fast and when is the right time.
Excellent. We've also had a question here about the safety aspects. Maybe you can actually answer that here. What additional safety measures have been taken on board this kind of vessel? You also alluded to it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, but we have a lot of extra firefighting equipment. We have CCT cameras on the bunker station, so we do not have to physically stay there when we're bunkering methanol. It's poisonous if you drink it, and gases. Then we have the foam, fixed firefighting foam in the methanol room on the bunker stations and in the bottom of the engine room, because there's a lot of safety precautions.
Absolutely.
And we
safety
have
is
the
top priority.
breakaway couplings on the bunker hoses and quick couplings. So yes, a lot.
And talking of a lot, we have been inundated with questions over the last few months of many of our sort of milestone updates for the vessel, and a lot of them are for the chief engineer. They really want to understand how your day-to-day activities have changed because we now have this dual fuel that can operate on methanol. Can you tell us about the training for it, the preparation, and what's the difference with your day-to-day now?
The biggest difference, I think, is that you have 2 fuels on one engine all the time. Normally you just have one, but here we have to operate with 2, which gives us a lot of extra piping, a lot of extra systems to monitor and work with. But as you go along, you get used to it, you get the hang of it and learn how to operate and work with it, and it gets like an everyday again. Yeah, it's a bit more work, but it's also exciting. It's something new. You learn every day, and that's, I think, is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And everybody has been really happy with it.
Brilliant. So I think, of course, we're talking about the methanol vessel, but actually, it took about 1 year to build if we're going from the first steel cut, which was July last year. But can you actually take us back, Leo, to when Maersk made that decision to decarbonize our entire fleet? And this was before the technology nor the fuels even existed in the quantities required. Take us back there.
Absolutely. So we need to go back to 2019. And that's the year when Maersk made a commitment to become carbon neutral by 2050 at that point in time. And it was a leap of faith, you can say. It was clearly a decision driven by what we saw happening in the world and the research made by scientists on the effect of climate change and us taking position.
Yes.
From there, a lot of work has gone. And
we can see some of this work also once the vessel started being built.
Absolutely. And for us, the first decision was to try out a technology and eventually create a pathway towards decarbonization. And when we started this journey, we thought that by 2030 we would have our first Baltic feeder running on some sort of alcohol fuel. And here we are today in 2023, so 7 years early, with the vessel operating already on the maiden voyage on green biomethanol.
And the green methanol has been used for the entire journey.
That's correct.
Excellent. We've also had a question here about what have been the CO2 savings by actually switching to green methanol?
Yeah, so I'll give first a rough figure. On a daily basis, when running at sea, the vessel saves up to 100 tons of CO2 compared to running the vessel on conventional fuel. Then when you look at the greenhouse gas impact, the fuel that we are currently using provides a reduction of about 65% compared to conventional fuels. The potential is to go up to 90-95% depending on how methanol is produced.
Excellent. And I know that also involves quite a lot of partners because, as you know, it's a chicken and egg situation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because, of course, at some point we will need more fuel for the rest of our fleet.
For sure. So I do believe that what happened in the last few years is actually extraordinary and shows how we have created a followership in the industry. So there was indeed this dilemma of do we invest first on the vessel or do we expect first to the fuel to be available? And we took a bold move to order 1 + 18 much larger container vessel supposed to run on methanol. And that created a very strong demand signal. So you can say that we are past the point of the chicken and egg situation. There's a lot of development happening in the market with regards to fuel production, a lot of activity worldwide, and we're very busy basically creating the volume and the pipelines that we need for methanol supply.
Absolutely. I'd also like to remind you that you can submit your questions live so that we can ask the gentleman here. And also, if you would like to get on board that vessel and have a vessel tour, please submit in the comments why you think you should win, and we'll do that draw at the end of this show. So I think we should maybe took some live footage right now so we can actually see how close the vessel is getting. Here we go. Still, here we go. Yes, we can see it there in the background, coming in closer and closer. But Captain Brian, can you tell us, because I understand that actually berthing here at Tolbolden is actually a little bit challenging. Can you tell us why?
I mean, you can see also on the footage that we have these towers that will be used for coming on board and going off the vessel because of all the visitors we will have, and they are quite close to the edge of the berth. So when he's coming alongside, they have to be very careful not to come at an angle. They have to be parallel to the berth when they are getting alongside. It's always like that, but of course you don't want to mess this one up.
No.
Sure.
No.
So they will be on their toes, making sure that we are getting a nice berthing for sure.
Absolutely. And I think now is a great time because as it's getting closer, we can see the tugs there. But earlier, we actually recorded the tugboat salute, which was actually fantastic. The reason it was done a little bit out in open water is because these small but mighty tugs can shoot up to 100 meters. So, of course, we don't want to spray any of the pedestrians walking here to see the vessel coming in. But what would that be like? Here we can see actually what the experience was. Absolutely amazing. When you're on a vessel like this, and there are occasions when the tugs do these salute, what does that feel like when you're sort of on the vessel and watching this?
Good question. I've never tried it actually.
You've never had it in your illustrious career? Oh, well, now you can experience
it. Really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a nice gesture, I guess, from the port to celebrate the vessel's arrival like this.
Oh yes.
There's a lot of water coming out of these monitors.
Yes, it's 100 meters. I said, depending on the weather, it can be 150 meters in terms of the spray, but really beautiful footage that we got there. And actually, yesterday, we got these shots from on board, which was the third officer. Heino was actually putting this on his Instagram story, so we can actually see what they were experiencing there as well.
Looks beautiful.
But I think it's wonderful. And of course, it's quite rare as well. I think a few months back, the Port of Bremerhaven did one for our CEO, Vincent Clerk, and he was sort of very modest about it. He's like, oh, this is wonderful. I said, it's for you. But he wasn't quite expecting that. But really beautiful scenes here.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Excellent. So I think we'll take another question. So basically, when we see that vessel, it looks pretty big from my eyes, but actually this is actually part of the smaller series, what we call actually a feeder, and it can carry 2,100 TEU containers, which is about the equivalent of 32,000 tons. But for you out there who, don't really like the metric measuring system, that is the equivalent of 5,000 African elephants. So now we actually borrowed some of those measurements in elephants from our captain, Christian Rohrbeck on the Marseille Maersk. He likes to measure in elephants. But can you tell us, at the moment, we actually have some larger ocean-going vessels which are being built in Hyundai Heavy Industries Yard. Tell us about those in construction, but also what's on the order books. We can see some here.
Absolutely. So this indeed is the first one we're taking delivery, and it's great because it gives us the experience and the confidence for the vessel we're going to take delivery starting already from the beginning of next year.
Yes.
And the first series we're going to take delivery is around 16,000 containers, so it's a much bigger vessel. They will be deployed to the main lines of our network. Then the next series will be slightly bigger, reaching 17,000, also delivery towards 2025, the latter part. And then from 26 and 7, we're going to add 9,000 container vessels, and these 6 ones will be built in China. So
Wow.
quite busy activity at the yards, both in Korea and China.
Absolutely, very busy. We've got a question from Sophia on LinkedIn, and what is the expected ratio of methanol to other fuel consumption on this ship? Who can take that?
The ratio,
Yes.
compared to burning fossil fuel, you use 2.5 times more methanol in order to obtain the same power.
Bit of a difference there. Then.
It's a bit of a difference.
Yes.
It's quite a lot more, but yeah.
Yeah, methanol has a less calorific value
Yes.
compared to a conventional fuel, and that's why you need more quantity.
Okay.
Right.
And another question for you here, Leo, is what have our customers been saying about these vessels? Because, of course, at the moment we have one feeder, but what is this sort of demand and expectation going forward?
Yeah, this is part of our what we call our eco delivery product, where in essence our customers can buy green transportation. And so the capacity we are adding through this vessel will basically boost our ability to deliver eco delivery, which is a product that has grown since its inception. And we can see some of our large customers renewing their commitments to eco delivery, and that gives us a lot of confidence that we are on the right path together with our customers.
Absolutely. We've got another question here from Vikas. How many ships like this will there be coming up in the next 5 years? You did allude to how many. And which other companies are planning to launch this kind of ship this year? Other companies. But yes, can you tell us what's the 5-year pipeline?
As I said, Maersk has been the pioneer in this area, and we're the first one taking delivery of this beautiful Baltic feeder.
Yes.
A number of companies has actually followed suit, and the total order book now exceeds 100 vessels that will be eventually delivered to operate on methanol. And that is very positive news, because it creates a very strong demand signal to the fuel producer. And the response from the market has been very positive. It's good to be a pioneer, but you need to have an ecosystem and other companies joining as well. And
That's
that is
very
exactly what
encouraging.
we see. Yes.
Absolutely. We can get some more live footage here as she's getting closer and closer. And then we've got a question from Joel. Maybe you could answer this, Heino. What is the main difference in terms of operations between normal and green vessels?
Difference. Is there any difference? No, as I said earlier, we have the two fuels to operate on, but for me, now we're getting used to working with the systems. There's not really any difference. It's just another day.
But an exciting day.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it has been. It's been long days with a lot of learning and a lot of excitement, but now we got the hang of it, so yeah.
I had a question here for you, Captain Brian. What is actually your favourite vessel, if not, of course, this one that you've sailed on?
To be honest, I like sailing with these smaller vessels. I also had like last 5 years on the what we call winter palace vessels, also Baltic feeders, built for Baltic feedering, but also sailing to Canada from North Europe. I've been very happy with sailing this size of vessels. There's many ways you can career can go, and I ended up in the smaller segment, but I enjoy it.
Excellent. I've got some footage now to say of the engine room and the team there. So, Heino, can you tell us what it's been like sort of day to day? How's the engine crew? A little bit different from the rest of the crew, and what are you guys working on here?
Yeah, here they're changing a fuel injector for the methanol system on the main engine, so...
A lot of piping.
A lot of piping. You see, there's not so much space out there, so... But yeah, we get used to it.
And you said that was one of the differences, actually, with
that is, you have so much extra piping. If you look on the top, normally you'll just have 3 pipes coming up here. There's like 5, 6, 7, and a lot of pipes around it. Plus, it's a compact engine, so there's not much space to operate on. But yeah, they're doing it, and the team is really brilliant. They're working very good together, all of them. But the day-to-day, more or less normal for engineers, I guess.
Yeah.
Daily routines, things we have to do every day, and then
Yes.
plus maintenance or breakdown maintenance, depending on what comes first.
And that's a very good point here, because of course we're celebrating the vessel here, but actually when it comes to sort of global trade and the role that ocean and shipping sort of takes in that, maybe you can give our sort of audience a little bit of sort of insights into that role that sort of ocean container shipping does for the industry.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, majority of commodities and goods gets transported via shipping. It's the most efficient mean of transportation. and yet shipping constitutes for about 3% of the total greenhouse gas emissions. So clearly the need to abate emissions from the sector is very important. And it's about making sure that the connection between consumers and production happens in a sustainable way. So it's about creating this conveyor belt of the future, if you will, utilizing technology, different fuels that will allow prosperity and growth also for the decades to come.
Absolutely. We've got a question here, but maybe you can follow on. How will you manage the normal vessel recycling? Actually quite an important question, because of course these vessels, once they're built, they're not just around for 5 years, but 25, 30 years. How are we sort of managing that recycling to make sure that the whole ecosystem is decarbonised and sustainable?
Yes, so on average, we run vessel between, let's say, the birth up to 25 years, sometimes a bit longer than that. And as part of what we call our fleet planning, we ensure that our capacity is aligned with a volume that we need, that our customer needs us to transport. And as part of that, when we do the plan, we also assess vessels that could be recycled. And we do that following the sustainable recycling policies that we have that cover a number of aspects: environmental aspect, social aspect, employment and work-related aspect, such that we do it with highest standards. And we're working with the industry to create an ecosystem for green steel. So where a part of the steel that is recycled can be utilized from different type of industry. I have to say this is at its infancy still, but growing quite rapidly as a movement. And it's a very important part of the overall carbon reduction movement in the world.
We're just zooming in here. I can see the camera just went a bit closer. You can see that all the way to 0. So she's making a steady way in and should be here for the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes. We've had a question here about methanol, actually, from Kane on LinkedIn. Considering methanol is highly flammable, are there restrictions on loading other hazardous cargoes into these feeder vessels?
Yeah, I mean, but there's restrictions on all container vessels. But there maybe is a little bit more efforts put into finding out where we can put the cargo. But here we have tried to keep the tanks for the methanol in just in front of the engine room in 2 tanks together. So if forward of that at a distance, then we have like a normal vessel, you can say, from outside the safety zone, where we can carry a dangerous cargo like other container vessels can do.
Yes. And then we have a question here. Actually, I think we've actually kind of covered that earlier. But Jack has also asking, if you stop using methanol for a few months during a supply problem and revert back to conventional fuels, is there any technical difficulty with that? But maybe it's how we're using the different fuels.
No, you can still run on conventional fuel, because it is like if the methanol system trips, it automatically switches back to the biofuel system.
Yes.
But if you have to run for a longer period, we might need to do some modifications to the methanol system. But for a few days only, it's not an issue.
The ship is super close now. So, of course, we will be having our name-giving ceremony tomorrow. Can you share some of your thoughts about what's going to be happening tomorrow and sort of how you're feeling about that ceremony?
It's a big event.
Yeah.
It's the biggest event of the vessel's short history, I guess.
Yes.
So everybody's very excited.
Really excited.
We don't have the full picture of what's going on. We get some briefing today as well,
Yes,
because there's a lot of things going on. But it will be very interesting with the godmother giving her the name, which we are looking forward to. So
yes,
we can,
which we've tried very hard not to say.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that will be very exciting. We're looking very much forward to that.
Absolutely.
Smashing the bottle.
Yeah, yes, and maybe having a tipple there. But Heino, we've also got a question for you. How many vessels have you sailed on, and do you have a favourite type of engine?
How many vessels I sailed on? I don't know. I've been here since 1995 when I started as a cadet, so I don't have a count of it. But the favorite vessels are still, like Brian, the smaller vessels, feeder vessels. Spent a lot of years on the small feeder vessels on West Africa. That was some of the best. And now the Baltic feeders, and now this one, so it's perfect.
Absolutely. I understand also you, Leo, you have sort of always had this sort of love of the sea. Can you tell us where your sort of career started?
Sure. As a background, I studied naval architecture, and I tend to think that some of the inspiration or where it all started was from the balcony view I had. So I was blessed with seeing the Gulf of Trieste in Italy, and there were all the time many vessels at anchorage, and I was very fascinated by this industry.
Yes.
So eventually that's led me to the studies and this career in this sector.
And we've got a question from Bukola from LinkedIn. What are some of the key challenges and learnings you've experienced with this new vessel, and what are some of the risks? So maybe we'll get a quick short answer from each of you for that. So we'll start with you, Captain Brian.
The lessons that we
Yes, the lessons you've learned on sailing this on its maiden voyage.
to be honest, there's not so much difference from sailing this vessel from my point of view
Yes.
than any other conventional vessel, because it's still a bridge with the radars, and of course I have have to have close cooperation with the chief engineer when we are switching, when the system maybe trips, especially on the maiden voyage. You always have some issues that you have to solve on the way. So there's been a lot of learnings on how to get around fixing the issues, and sometimes you have to fix it quick fix that you can then solve later, or you can maybe make a full repair, but fix at the time. You have to decide that. But we were working together to figure out the best solution, and if we can't figure it out ourselves, then we have our team at shore that can help us. Yeah, we have very, very good support from the shore, Rasmus and Frans.
Really good support.
And for you, what has been sort of the biggest challenge on this maiden voyage?
Running the methanol. No, getting familiar with all the new systems. Plus, we have a new alarm system, new type of it. So get familiar with this, get familiar with the methanol, and learn how to run it and operate it. It's been a really steep learning curve, especially for all engineers, because there's so many new things. But yeah, we're getting there.
Absolutely. And Sophia asks, how big of a crew is needed to operate this vessel? So how many crew is on board right now?
Right now there's 20 people, a crew of 20, but the safe manning is 14.
Yes.
So we have additional crew to assist, and additional engineer and so on. 20 people is what we are nominated for.
And we had a question here from Mary. How does it change the qualifications of officers and crews on board operating this vessel? But I would imagine there's not much of a change there, or is there?
So the big difference is the training program that the whole crew went through. But in terms of certifications and ranks, it's a conventional, let's say, system following what is called the standard of training and watchkeeping.
We know we've had a lot of questions, maybe quite 50% asking about joining the crew, which is very encouraging to hear. So we have a good pipeline coming up, but we'll also share those details. And now we can see getting ever so close now, and of course with our beautiful rainbow container also on board, and many different customers also like Bestseller and Amazon have also said that they've got a vessel on board here with goods, so it's fantastic that we can deliver this for our customers. I think now is the time. Actually, I'm getting a winner for the vessel tour, which has been drawn across all of our channels, and I'm pleased to say that the winner of that vessel tour ticket is Søren Anderson. So there you have it. We'll also message you all the details about how you can collect those tickets and go on that tour on Sunday. But also, because we've had so much great engagement from our sort of audience, what I'll do is later today I'll go across each of the channels and pick 2 names to actually send a lovely Lego ship to, which is fantastic. But I would like to say it's been fantastic having you here. It's actually, we're going to go outside and now welcome our vessel coming up. So fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your insights about the maiden voyage that we have had so far. And also I'd like to thank you, our audience, for joining us. I hope you stay tuned and join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central European time, because that is when we will live stream the name-giving ceremony of the world's first container vessel sailing on methanol. And we will have the godmother there, who is the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen. So it's going to be a great watch. Please tune in, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.